G'day friends and fans, and welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 28th of the 12th. Just doing a quick sound check because I got a little warning signal here. Oh, it's gone away. Good. Everything's fine. As you know, yesterday the Russians overran Siversk, and the Ukrainians are panicking because a couple of Russian tricksters yelled out to the Ukrainians, "We're coming!" and they ran away. And then they suddenly realized it was not the Russian army, but 3 Russian tricksters. But parts of Hulapol fell, parts of Hulapol have been recaptured. There is now a hotly contested town, but the BBC is reporting that the Russians are advancing on the Ukrainian fortress belt and that Ukrainian front lines are crumbling. Well, it's not exactly news, but yes, Russia has also launched a large missile attack, and Zelensky is complaining that Russia attacked while my back was turned. That is not fair. I'm the Captain Skyshield. I'm protecting the Europe from the Putin. Of course, the sneaky Putin. Well, he's supposed to be in Florida making peace. Nope. That's a lie. He don't want peace. He wants the money. Here's the Zelensky. Of course he wants the money. This is a very important thing. It is for counting the money. Ukraine has the economy of Cuba, but a president who makes more money than most executives. Oh boy, he's the greatest businessman in the world. Now, Ukraine is the capital of graft and corruption. The 132 most honest, he's way down the list. Like, when there are African dictatorships that are more honest than your country and less corrupt, you know this. But Ursula von der Leyen, always the lying. You know, she's in panic mode. Did you know? They're complaining it's not enough that Europe is not competitive enough. Why is everybody leaving? We're the most freest of them all, and if you don't agree, you could go to prison. And of course, some British muppet says it's not going to jail for opinion. It's going to jail for hate speech. Oh, these people bloody belong in a prison themselves. Learning learning that an opinion is speech. What, they think opinions is just, that's right, they want to get in your head and get those opinions out too. Bet they'll do it with a rusty spoon. So, you can go to prison for insulting Keir Starmer. He's Ukrainian Muppet in MI6, of course. Because today I got attacked by a person going, "What's my sources?" Turned out she was a Ukrainian lobbyist in Washington, D.C. You can't make this stuff. I tell you, these people, they are sick. Okay? They are so greedy, so selfish. And of course it's a woman. You know, Ukraine officials, a man, no, up to the front. You got the dangleberries, go off to the front. So you know what it's all about, don't you? They're killing off the men so they can have their way with lots of women. Sit around in uniform and going, "Look, I'm the heroes of Ukraine." Alright, so Russia has launched multiple fronts, and Putin has spoken out today saying that the operation to build a demilitarized zone, a buffer zone on their border is progressing. And as we can see, it is progressing. Not what Zelensky wants to hear. That's for sure. Alright, so the noticing will continue. The Zelensky can be crying all he wants. But the Russians, for now, have actually now seemingly been forced out of Kupiansk. Yet, how could they be fighting in Kupiansk? Hey! Oh! Stop with the noticing! Hey! Yeah, well, we've seen this before, right? This is what? 2-3 years of back and forth. This is classic Russian death trap. You know, another classic Russian death trap. But yes, this is the Lyman area. As you can see, the Russians have taken another bite of the apple. Now, what is the fortress towns they're speaking of? We'll see. All the way through here, Ukraine built a line of fortresses in and around towns. They went into towns and built these huge concrete bunker buildings. And then they built smaller buildings all around the countryside, often thinly veiled. They built a barn with only three concrete walls and a wooden door at the back. And they put a window in the back. And, of course, this window was actually a placement for a gun. And it wasn't a barn after all. Or they built lots of tank shelters. Now, as this line... Now, I don't know exactly who built it, but this line allegedly here cost $1.5 billion. And the Ukrainian... Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Then the Ukrainian defense minister, who's now in exile in the UK, well, he pointed out the fact that they want to know why they don't have rows of concrete bunkers and lines of artillery. Good question. Zelensky, of course, fired him, but, and then you have the third Zelensky line. So, BBC actually acknowledged the Russians are advancing, right? They're flanking the Zelensky line, the second Zelensky line. The first line crumbled from Donetsk through to Bakhmut. Now the second here is only what they call the reserve line. This is their main fortress town. They've put 360,000 men and 9,000 artillery into here, allegedly. But nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows where the money's gone. But what we do know is that Russia is on their doorstep and beating quite healthily and heftily on their wooden door, which was supposed to be made of steel and concrete. But lots of areas on the front today did not see any action, primarily due to bad weather, though it wasn't raining. The rain was, the atmosphere was just condensating into a sort of icy mist for hours. Now the air temperatures are still quite low, and they're going to remain low for quite some time to come. Now the expected Russian offensive has so far been airborne and drones across the front. Now, right now, one of the biggest problems is these optical cables. They're thin plastic, and as they harden, they become like a rather sharp knife. They can slice skin open. They can even slice their uniforms. Men have launched these drones. If they're not careful, the uncoiling, the optical cable's got such a spring to it as it uncoils, it can actually wrap around, anything it comes in contact with. It's that tense that It's like a combination of uncoiling steel and a water hose. It'll just tap the water hose as it's spraying around uncontrollably, and it just goes in any direction. So you imagine if a coil hits you, the rebound and reverberation of coil, it actually can spin around and wrap around you and take your head or your arm with it without resistance. Now, a lot of these areas here are under Russian control. They're just under Russian fire control. Ukraine is allegedly holding the roads, but barely. But Russia is barely pushing their advantage in most areas. Now, of course, we have a little bit of fighting around here, of course. But as you can see, like the Russian death trap at the Zelensky and his boys still think they can retake Pavos by coming through this open train station, which is it's the Russian death trap, okay? And they still come down this line thinking, oh, we get in, and then we get, then suddenly, ta-da! The Russians weren't in their hidey hole after all. So, but to say the Russians steamrolled the Ukrainian lines is 24 hours old. They steamrolled yesterday. They only made modest gains today, but they were gains. They were just modest compared to yesterday. This happens like here as they're advancing on turn, right? They'll overrun a position and then they'll start clearing out the Ukrainian mines, Ukrainian infiltrators left behind, and sometimes they'll find Ukrainians have spread out through the forests and open fields and lying in wait. And of course, some of them fire over the Russian heads and seed the back lines with air-dropped munitions. So now they have unexploded plastic canisters. If crushed, they set off I think it's a small, like a small grenade. It's enough to kill. So Russians primarily using quad bikes. E-bikes are very popular, but yeah. Now, they stop for nothing, right? Even their own comrades, right? There's no stopping, right? When you go down a road, you go from point A to point B, you check in on radio. Nobody stops nobody, okay? If the only time they stop somebody is to shoot you, right? Right? And you better take them down first, because anybody shooting at a Russian soldier, even another Russian soldier, is likely to get shot at if they don't take them out. But that's the same on the Ukrainian side. The Ukrainian side is just so tense right now, but so are the Russians. I mean, both sides have pretty much got infiltrators all the way through these zones, right? You can imagine if there's Ukrainians back here, there's going to be Russians back here. That's how they're able to hit these towns. Sometimes they hold them long enough for the Russian army to catch up. Other times the assault forces leave overnight. But as you can see, most of Hulapol has indeed been captured. I've been vindicated. I told you the Russians captured it yesterday. But the Zelensky disputed it, didn't update the maps. But I'm telling you, 3 Russians walked into the center of town, announced the Russians were coming. Did the civilians leave? No. The Ukrainians left. Then they tried to come back in fighting. And I said there was reports of fighting in the center of Hulapol. And again, yesterday the general head of staff claimed that there were still clashes. But near Valengia, this is back up here, not in Hulapol, but Hulapol, Gilapol, and a couple of others in this area were all captured. The Russians didn't just advance in Hulapol, they advanced a little bit here south, and our Russian assault forces allegedly reached here. Now, there was some shelling as well, light artillery across the front. Now, Russians have closed a bit of the gap here on Orlov and dug in. They've captured a little bit here near Zaporozhye, but it's some pushing back Ukrainians in the fields. This is where most of the war is now being fought in airborne. You can see this is what this is obviously a missile at high velocity, probably air defense, because you remember force punch mass acceleration, right? If this was a Kinzhal, it would smash the building, right? It's probably a drone. But yeah, Ukraine's capital coming under attack. Zelensky is in Florida. It says he's on his way. No, he's he arrived in Florida earlier. Now, Ukraine's state official visit starts tomorrow, I believe. It may be delayed depending on how the Nigerian crisis folds out. Couple of sticking points is going to be Venezuela, Taiwan, and a few others, because Russia's decided to throw a few things in the mix as well, which of course, fuck Ukraine. But the Ukraine state grid operator finally admits that their energy company is under drone attack, and now more than 1 million households in and around Kiev are without power. Now, DTEX was the energy facility that was struck, was the control operations. As you may or may not know, without power regulators, the output of most reactors and generators is inconsistent. Yeah, and you can't put them all online at once, and you can't have them all go off offline. They rotate all the time, trying to keep a steady balance of just enough power to be ahead of demand. And you have monitors, people monitoring the grid, so that when it goes down, they can immediately start calling people to come in, because grids don't go down in one usual foul swoop. Now, Russia has obviously found the overload level of DTEC hit the control center and overloaded the grid controller, and were able to annihilate all those little transformer boxes you might see on power lines, and some countries they're square boxes on this, but overload them, right? And boom, because 1 million households, normally it's only a few thousand, they're only the grid isn't one big grid, it's lots of little grids they've obviously found a weak spot in the Ukrainian system. I mean, they've only been blowing up power stations and grid boxes and watching the power lights go out now for close to 3 years. I think they know where everything is by now. Now, I'm surprised Ukraine hasn't started rewiring and breaking down its grid into smaller, more manageable chunks, breaking up the various monopolies, but I think what they've been doing is the opposite. I think as smaller operators get taken out and smaller power stations get taken out, they bring in a temporary power generator, never fix the real thing, and instead rewire it to, say, DTEC or something else, and start bringing in, bringing bigger generators online, thinking, Russians aren't getting through our concrete bunkers. They're trying to build, and they've been building cable junctions to bring in power from other countries. But in reality, Russia has been monitoring everything, and boom, there goes everything. When you put all your eggs in one basket, Putin gets out his hammer and smashes the basket as well, not just the eggs in it. but more than 40% of Kiev is without heat, and the temperatures are around freezing. Now, Poland once again is going, the Russians are coming! Oh, no, they're not. So, no violations of Polish airspace were reported. It was, once again, the Russians are coming! The Russians are coming! Hello? The wolf! Hello? Listen to the Peter! But Russia only had a small drone attack compared to previous weeks, which means Zelensky is running out of money. Well, of course he is. Now, Russia's advanced, taken Gulipol and Dmitrov, but they haven't claimed Hulipol yet. Now, they did claim Hulipol yesterday, so though officially they only announced that they pulled the rug out from under the Ukrainians, but again, Ukraine says, no, they don't control the Hulipol. There's still a little tiny fraction. There's less than what. See, little fraction. So you haven't taken it. We're still in the fight. Yeah, it's like Andrew Tate. I'm still in the fight. So this is, and as Putin said, this is about establishing a buffer zone. The Russians have advanced in Donbass and Zaporozhye and other areas along the line of engagement. Now, Dmitrov is tiny, but Gulipol is the second largest city in the Zaporozhye region. So that's, I believe, which includes all of this, not just Hulipol, but the greater area around it. This is the problem. Ukraine has a complicated map. But, of course, Zelensky's meeting today, after he left the UK, Zelensky's first stop after he left Ukraine, of course, was his good boyfriend. Well, he can't decide, so he decided to be the meat in the sandwich between the Macron and the Starmer, and put the Merkel in the cock chair, and said, I want my money. Sorry, guys, but 200 billion, not enough. It won't fund us for 2 years. It's 50 billion short. And I also need 3 billion a month for the interest payments. You also got to pay me. So Ukraine's only going to kick in 3 billion a year, right, for a $200 billion loan, plus he wants a $50 billion gift, and he wants the weapons. Oi! Who does he think he is? And what is he got that these cocks are so desperate to get hold of? What are these frozen Russian assets that they want to put their little greasy mitts onto? But remember, they're allegedly, they're overspending by 18.5% of GDP. So they're at 118.5% of GDP on spending. So, and this is a country with the economy the size of Cuba, right? It could fit multiple Cubas. It has a much bigger population, and they're poorer than Cuba. Sacrifice your children for Ukraine, the French army chief has told the plebs today. But Trump has poured the cold water all over Zelensky's 20-point plan and said, you'll get nothing without my permission. You'll accept my plan or nothing. You'll get not one penny out of me. And Zelensky is going, but I'm the Zelensky. I'm the chosen one. But Russia ain't having any on his chosen one nonsense. This is what an airborne launch looks like. As you can see, Kinzhal, It does look like a knife point. It's pretty much dropped by a MiG-31. You imagine a Tupolev with 8 of these. You know, if they're launching, let's say you imagine if they took all those launches, right? Instead of just pinpricking Ukraine, they did about 8. You know, they picked a day and just went, bang, one target. It'd be messy. Much higher, right? When you hit 1 or 2 places spread out over a wide area, you can deal with it, right? Few buildings, a few weeks later, looks like nothing ever happened, right? Zelensky's, of course, been worn down, grinding. But what if the Russian Federation actually delivered a massive strike with precision weapons and just said, right, 8 precision weapons, this industrial centre, kaput! And the next day, you'll surrender, and then a few days later, boom, another industrial centre, kaput! Right, now instead of taking days or weeks, they now have to take months or years to rebuild each and every one. Because instead of just having a few holes in buildings, or some massive explosions destroying containers in a container dock, you know, now Battle Group Center is the as you can see, the T is often silent, or it's a strange, it's like a vowel in Russian where the TS, ta, so Battle Group Center, it's a weird language, I know. I still don't think I'm pronouncing it right. People have tried to correct me. I'm just not good at either Ukrainian or Russian enunciations. As you could tell, I barely speak English good enough, okay? I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. Oopsies. But 440 just to one battle group, but overall over 1,000 Ukrainians eliminated. Now the Russians have brought forward, as you can see, a new round of defense industry strikes, and they actually said that this facility they hit here in Kiev, lots of targets. They said this is all to do with the military industrial complex of Ukraine. And again, we've seen the city centre traffic. This road here, this road junction here is featured a few times. Now, for some reason, right, this area in here is with the river, where it's an artificial lake. Although I think it's actually built on a real lake, but it feeds in from here. They have boats that come and bring all the stuff down to here, all the way down to here to Karibov, and docks down here, and down flow water off into. But as you can see, it's all. Stalin put millions to work, and over 1 million died on this works. But this is often the site of huge explosions in the center of Ukraine. And as you can see, this is the road that's often featured. But this road apparently has been severed. This bridge has been rebuilt. But the Ukrainians, right? Airport is where often they see Patriots. Now we don't know, because allegedly Britain sent air-launched laser-guided munitions for the F-16s. But because they refitted the F-16s for anti-drone operations and launching non-standard missiles, apparently Ukraine's still got A-10s. they can't launch them because they've taken off the American Universal fittings and put on retrofitted, fittings from their Su-27s. So the jet's apparently back in Romania for work. They're allegedly going to carry out strikes on the front, but this missile has a range of 100 kilometers, which means they're going to get close. And the Russians are saying, yeah, 100 kilometers? Yeah, we got the 350, the 450, the 550. Take your pick. We can see you. We might be even able to hit you. So whether or not that happens is a different story. But if it does, of course, that spells trouble for Ukraine. So that's the state of the war right now. May or may not be good news for some. It's never good news. All right. So, thank you all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree. Whoops. Right. Description below. Scan the QR code on the screen. Thank you, each and every one of you. I really appreciate it. And see you in the next video. And bye for now.